So let's look at this warm-up. This is a review from yesterday and from Friday, and we'll have another question on here that's a review from yesterday. So first of all, when we're looking at this, we're caring about area. When we care about area, we know that we're multiplying things base and height, which means we only care about two of the numbers. I see up here, and I see a lot more numbers than 2 here. And I see more numbers than 2 here. So which numbers in this first one do I care about for area? Jaden, which 2 numbers? Perfect. We care about that 5 and that 10. Why do we care about those 2 numbers, Hannah?
Because it has the base and the 5's inside, so it means the height.
Exactly. 10's the base and the 5's inside, so it means the height. Now, it's a great way to think about it, but it's not always inside. But they always have to do what, Rocco?
Form a right angle.
Yes, form a right angle. So yes, it is the inside, but look at the next one. It's outside. But they have to form a right angle, always. So then our area, we just multiply, right, for a triangle. So it's 5 times 10 is 50, right? Yeah? I'm getting it split. I'm getting some people saying yes and some saying no. So what are the no people saying? What is wrong? What do you think, Elsie?
You don't only do 5 times 50? Yeah.
What do you have to do?
Divide it by 2?
Yes. The area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So in this case, it's 1/2 of 10 times 5. There's multiple ways to do it. We could find out, like we already knew, that this was 50, and then we could half it and get 25. But I also like to do this. Half of 10 is 5. Those 2 cancel out. 5 times 5 is 25. Multiple ways to go about it. Ben asked a good question. He says, so does that mean on tests do we have to show our work? And the answer is sometimes. When the variable is already isolated, your work is already done for you. All you need to do is do the simple calculations. But when the variable is not isolated, when you're trying to find the base or when you're trying to find the height and you already know the area, then you have to show your work or at least write it out, because that's how you avoid it. On the homework, I saw many people do it wrong because they did not write it out. They did not read the problem correctly. What is the perimeter of this triangle then, Carmen? Perfect. So it's 24. Excellent. Now, once again, for this next one, here we've got what shape. Who can tell me what shape that is? Hannah? Yes. It is a parallelogram. That is what it is. A parallelogram means that it has 4 sides, and all of the sides are parallel to another one. Parallel to this one, parallel to this one. People also will mark it off with these lines. The lines mean matching sides. So when you see a side with 1 line, it corresponds to the other side with 1 line. When you see a side with 2 lines, it corresponds to the side with 2 lines. That's how you will see it. That's telling you they are congruent. What does congruent mean again? We wrote it down yesterday. What does congruent mean again? Elsie?
They're figures that are the same shape and size?
Yes, figures that are the same shape and size. So that means these lines would be the same shape and the same size. Now, which numbers do I care about when finding the area, Romario? The 13 and the 4, do we agree? We're getting some hesitance, but what do you think? Tobias, what do you care about? 4 and 12, why? Yes, because it makes our 90 degrees right there. So we care about the 4 and the 12, because it makes the 90 degrees. So our area is 4 times 12, which is 48. Do I have to do anything else to it?
Yeah.
What do I have to do? Yes, Rocco? Is this a triangle?
Oh, never mind.
No, we're done. So only with triangles do we divide by 2. You need to know that formula. This one, parallelograms. Parallelograms, by the way, are rectangles, are squares, all of those. Because look, this side is parallel to this side. This side is parallel to this side. They are parallelograms. We just call them different things. Diamonds are parallelograms because their sides are parallel. We have all of that. Now, what is our perimeter, though? What's the perimeter of this shape, then, Malia?
29.
What is it, Gloria? 34. Excellent. So when finding area, we are multiplying the 90-degree corners. And when finding perimeter, we are adding up all of the sides. Now, here's what I want to show you. How change by factor works. This is the proof. Many of you guys were having a hard time with this yesterday, the change of factor. You're having a hard time remembering how does it go up when it's affected by perimeter? How does it go up when it's affected by area? So I want you to have this. Here we have this rectangle. It's got sides of 2 and sides of 3. As such, what is the area then, Liam? What's the area, Daniel? 6, exactly. It's just a parallelogram, it's a rectangle, so all we are doing to find, that's perimeter, all we are doing to find the area is base times height. And then what is the perimeter, Liam? Perimeter is when we add all of the sides together. 10, excellent. So that's what we got. For this little one here, we've got our area is 6 and our perimeter is 10. Now, I'm going to increase each side by a factor of x. Factor of x means it could be any number. We don't know what number that is yet. It's just x. So I increased it all by a factor of x. Once again, how do I find my perimeter, Jenna? I add everything. Awesome. So I'm going to call, let's see, Lucy. What's 2x plus 3x plus 2x plus 3x equal to? Perfect. The perimeter is 10x. We just combined like terms. They all had an x. We didn't multiply because perimeter is addition, which is great. Now let's see, Fernando, what is our area? So we've got 6x, but we're missing a part. Does anybody know what we're missing? Let's look at this. When we multiply our area, we're multiplying 2x times 3x. 2x times 3x. Let's think about that. What would that become? 2x times 3x. What do we think, Elsie?
Maybe 6.
6?
No.
What do you think, Rocco? 6x, almost. You're on the right track. What do we think? This is why I wanted to show it to you. I'm going to ask you, ready? What does x times x mean? What is that, Ben? No, that's, no. What about this? What does 5 times 5 mean? That is equal to 25. But how else could I write 5 times 5? How else could I write it, Romario? Well, yes, that would be x times x. Yes, but what do we do, Fernando? Yes, so it would be here 5 squared. And as such, because we are multiplying these two x's together, 2 times 3 is 6, x times x makes it x squared. Something times itself makes it a squared. So when we have that x times itself, we get that x squared. So notice that we've increased each side by a factor of x, which then increased our perimeter simply by that x, but it increased our area by that factor squared. So if the original perimeter was 10, our new perimeter is 10x. Our original area is 6. Our new area is 6x squared. So P only changes by that factor, but A changes by that factor squared. So, for instance, here I've got this one. What is the perimeter of this rectangle then, Tobias? Perfect. So the perimeter is 30. Excellent. And then what's the area of this, Emerson? Perfect. It's 54. So for our perimeter, we added the sides up. For our area, we multiplied. We didn't have to half anything. We didn't have to do anything because it's a rectangle. So now let's say I wanted to multiply it by a factor of 1/3. I wanted to multiply it by a factor of 1/3. All that means it's going to be 6 times 1/3 and 9 times 1/3. What's 6 times 1/3? What is that, Ben? 2. What is 9 times 1/3? What is that, Anita? 3. So what is my new area then? What is my new area? What is it, Ben? Our new area is 6. And what is our new perimeter? What's our new perimeter, Rocco? 10. So let's look at that. We went down. We multiplied by 1/3. What's 30 times 1/3? What's 30 times 1/3? Let's see. Daniel. 10. Hey, look. That's the 10 we got. Rocco's so eager to answer. What's 54 but times 1/3? What's 18? But wait, that's 6. So that doesn't match. But remember, when doing area, it's the factor squared. So what's 1/3 squared? That's 1/3 times 1/3, which that is equal to what, Elsie? Perfect, 1/9. Now, I want you to find what is 1/9 of 54. AKA, what's 54 divided by 9, Nathan? 6. That's how we get these matching things. So P changed by 1/3. So the OGP, which is the original perimeter, times 1/3 is our new perimeter. But the area changed by 1/9. It changed by 1/3 squared. So our OG area times 1/9 is our new area. So as we see, area is by the factor squared because we are multiplying, and when we multiply two things together, you can end up, if you multiply the same thing together, you square it. And for the other one, we're just adding. So it's just going to be going up by that single factor. Excellent work. So we're starting lesson 9.3, area of trapezoids. What we're going to be taking now is knowledge that we've learned both from area of parallelograms and area of triangles to learn how to take area of trapezoids. Here's this warm-up here. First, what's the area of this first one, Gore? 12, exactly. We get 1/2 of 8 times 3. The easy way to do it, you could do this to get 24 and half it, but as I like to do, I cross this out. I get 4 times 3 is 12. Excellent. We know that it's half because it's a triangle, and the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. What about this other one? Jaden, what's the area of this bottom shape right here? The rectangle. Perfect. It's 88. Area of parallelograms. That means rectangles, squares, diamonds, parallelograms, all of that. It is just base times height, which is great. But now I've thrown this into the mix. I want you to find the area of this. So I broke it down into 2 pieces for us. I broke it down into these 2 pieces. I want you to find the area of this piece as a whole. Fernando, how did you find the area of this shape? So you multiplied 14 times 8, right? And what did you get? He got 112. He multiplied that 14, so what he has up here is 14 times 8. And he got 112. It's 112. Did anybody else get a different answer? Michelle, what'd you get? She got 100. Gore, did you get the same thing? Gore got 100. Anybody else get something else? What'd you get, Adriana?
I got
92. So let's see, Adriana. We see what Fernando did. He multiplied 14 times 8. We see that 14. We see that 8. Excellent. And they make a 90 degree. What did you do to get that 92? So then you did that wrong, but that's okay. How did you get that 100, Michelle? Yes, she split them up. So she made it a triangle and a rectangle.
literally on the slide you just showed.
It's the exact same as on the slide before. So now,
Both wrong, but more importantly, you were right.
now this is 11 and this is 8. So what's the area right here of this rectangle, Andrew? 88, just like we did on this other slide. And here, We already know our height is 8. But what is this length right here? I don't know it. What is that length right there, Elsie?
So you have to subtract 14 by 11 to find the length of the...
Yes, because here is 11, but the whole thing is 14, which means this part is 11, and that part has to make 14, which, as Elsie said, is 3. So now I've got to find the area of my triangle. The area of my triangle is 1/2 base times height. 1/2, 3 times 8, as we see on this previous slide, is 12. When I add them together, I get the area of 100. The real way that we solve this is using a formula. It's called 1/2 of the height times base 1 plus base 2. So we've got this. We know 1/2, right? We see that triangle. That makes sense. It's got this slant in it. What's our height, Gore? 8. And then we've got this, base 1 and base 2. It's a little bit tricky, but let's think about it. Which one's base 1, Lucy? She says 14. Sure, excellent. So then in that case, what would base 2 be? In that case, what would base 2 be, Hannah? 11. Does it matter which one's base 1 and base 2? No, but we know they are the bases. We used this base when we were finding the area of the rectangle, and this is the base of the whole thing. Here, 1/2 times 8, we'll get rid of that. That's 4. 14 plus 11 gives us 25. 4 times 25 is 100. So the formula for the area of trapezoids is 1/2 the height times base 1 plus base 2. It does not matter which one is base 1 and base 2. It does not matter. In addition and multiplication, it does not matter the order. It does not matter which one is base 1. It does not matter which one is base 2. So the area of a trapezoid is 1/2 the product, aka multiplication, of the height and the sum addition of base 1 and base 2. We've seen that mini letter before when we did x1 minus x2 below y1 minus y2, y1 over y2 minus x1 over x2 when we were finding slope. But that was just a quick lesson that we looked over, and it was not too much. I did it to introduce the mini letters below it. So trapezoids have 2 bases. We can't always easily break them apart into multiple triangles, but if we have the information, we can. This way is just easier. Let's say I had this being 10 and I had this as 12. I would know that this base and this base had to be the same because I'm splitting it. So I would get this being 1, this being 1. If my height was 6, I would have this be 3, this be 3. My inner thing be 60, and my answer would be 66. But that takes a lot more steps than if I had simply multiplied 10. I added 10 and 12, 1/2 of 6. So I'd have, as we did that, we got 66 if you saw really fast. I have 66, I have 1/2 times our height, 6, times 22, which is 10 plus 12. This goes away, we get 3. Our answer again is 66. So with trapezoids, you can either break them apart into triangles and rectangles, or you can simply know this formula, which will be the more helpful way. So in this case, here, I've got my area 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. So I've got my height, I've got my base 1, I've got my base 2. I'm going to solve this. Now, once again, let's look into this. What is 5 times, or this is supposed to be plus. What is 5 plus 12 then? Rocco, 17. So I've got 7 times 17 times 1/2. Okay, in this case, 17 times 7. We get 7 times 7. Remember, we always line up on the far right. Is 49. 7 times 1 is 7. Plus that 4, we get 139. But we have to divide it into 2 parts. I'm lazy when I divide, so I like to split it into even numbers. I split this into 130 and then I split it into 9. 130 split in half is 65. 9 split in half is 4.5. I add those together. I feel like I'm wrong. Michelle caught my mistake. I was thinking 9 because I saw it next to this. This is where my mistake came in. It's 11, so it's 119. So I split it into my 110, which half of that is actually 55. And then I have 4.5. So my answer, my area, is 59.5. Romario also brought out, hey, can't we just separate it? And yes, we can. So here, our height is 7, right? So what's the area of this rectangle? What's the area of the rectangle, Adriana?
Oh, 35.
Perfect. We get 35. Now, what is this length here? If this length is 5, the whole length is 12. What's that length there gonna be, Rafi? Lily, what'd you get? 7. Exactly, because 7 plus 5 is 12. So now this part here is 7, and this part here is 7. But it's a triangle. So we have 1/2, 7 times 7. 7 times 7 is what? Anita? 49. And we find half of that. We find half. I like to split it. Let's split it into 48 and 1. Half of 48 is 24. Half of 1 is 0.5. So this becomes 24.5.
Where'd you get the 48 from again?
If that way is confusing to you, we'll just use long division. It's totally fine. 49 divided by 2. It goes in 2 times. That's 4. We get 0. It goes in 9 times. It goes in 4. We get 8. We have 1 left over. It goes in 5 times. So I just had split it up into one number I could work with, an even number, and then the remainder of 1. 49 is the even number 48 plus 1. 48 and a half is 24. 1 and a half is 0.5. That's just the mental math way to do it, and it helps you save time. Then 24 plus 35 is equal to 59.5. The easier way to do it is to follow the formula, especially because now we need to find the height. So when you do that, you need to isolate the h. If I isolated my h, what I would do is I would divide by 1/2, aka multiply by 2, and then divide by this parenthesis. So I would get 2a over b1 plus b2 is equal to h. You don't need to remember that. But that's just how it looks. You will be given numbers. So I know my area and I know my bases. So my area is 108 is equal to 1/2. I don't know my height, but what is my base 1 plus base 2 equal to? What's base 1 plus base 2 equal to, Rocco? 27. Excellent. So I've got 1/2 times h times 27. This is kind of difficult to work with. I don't necessarily want to do this. That's why I want to isolate it the other way before solving. I'm going to multiply each side by 2 to get rid of that half, right? Let's get rid of that half. I don't want to multiply half by 27. That's going to get me a decimal. I don't want to do that because I don't want to divide by a decimal. So I'm going to multiply each side by 2 to get rid of this half. 108 times 2. Who can tell me 108 times 2? Liam. Perfect. 216 is equal to 27h. Then how do I isolate that h? What do I do? Hannah?
You divide 27 on each side.
Perfect. I divide each side by 27. Since we're running out of time, my calculator nicely tells me that the answer is 8. The answer is nicely 8. So we're going to look at page 687, A, B, C, D, and E. These are quick. A, we did 700 times. We know the answer is 100. I want to do D and C. We have or D and E. We have our area. 24 is equal to, we have our bases. So we have 4 plus 12. We don't know our height, and we know it's 1/2 times that. What is 4 plus 12, Rocco? 16. I'm going to get rid of that half. What's half times 16, Ben?
Half times 8.
Perfect. We get rid of that, and we get 8h equals 24. So what does h equal to? 3. I divide each side by 8. I get 3. On this side, I have 21 is equal to, we don't know our h, 1/2 h. And our base 1 is 2. Our base 2 is 5. What is 2 plus 5? Nathan? 7. Now, I want to get rid of it. 1/2 times 7 is a little inconvenient. So in this case, I'm actually going to divide by 7 first. Because watch. Divide by 7, divide by 7. I get 3 is 1/2 h. I want to multiply by 2 because I'm dividing. I'm going to multiply each side by 2. I get h equals 6. You just isolate your variables. The guided practice is the same way. Rocco said, so when you multiply a number by half, it's basically dividing the number by 2? Yes, because we do our Kentucky chicken fried. Something divided by 1/2, we do our keep, change, flip, stuff like that. If we did x times 1/2, we do our keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. They are the same exact thing. Tell, because this is x times 1/2, x over 1. We multiply across, we get x over 2, aka x divided by 2. That's your homework. Enjoy.